all the youth soccer coaches out there in America, raising our level of coaching so that we can produce elite players at any level, not by accident, not one in a million, not one in 100,000, not one in hundreds and hundreds of thousands, but frequently. And that is why Evo Toka is in existence. I'm going to start this out with a story because I think that is the most relevant thing as far as getting this journey started. Why is Evo Toka in existence? Because with anything I think that has purpose, I think it is important that you understand why that purpose is made so that you understand the intent of the tournament. I'm 25 years old, 26 years old, maybe even a little bit older. My father no longer coaches me. It's been a long time, maybe a decade since he's actually coached me. I'm always taking advice from my father when I play, when I coach, always. But in terms of when he was my coach, maybe I was even older, maybe late 20s, maybe even 30. And my father, having coached youth soccer consistently at this point, maybe for 30 to 35 years, mentions to me, man, what I know now, I wish I knew when you were playing. And this was after attending a coaching event, a seminar where we had just I had learned so much from this seminar, and my father had gained one nugget because he had mentioned that at some point as a coach, you're coaching so long and you're continuously learning that it becomes so hard to really improve your level of coaching. So when you start out, you can improve like this, but at some point, like just learning just getting a little bit better is really, really hard. But when my father had made this statement to me that whatever what I know now, I wish I knew when you were coaching. What that says to me is that I could have been an even better player. And you think of any coach, any player who played the game at really, I wouldn't say at any level, but there's a certain level, whatever that is, and you coach your son, or it's your first time coaching, and you know the game, you understand the game, so you coach your son, and maybe he even becomes a professional soccer player. So you accomplished your goal. But let's say you keep coaching and you don't stop 20, 30 years after your son started his professional journey. At that point, you will realize, as good as your kid may have been, he could have been so much better if you had the knowledge that you had now and you could transfer it in the past and go back in time and coach your kid again. And this is why Evo Toka was put into existence. Because as coaches, we have to understand that whenever we're coaching, there's a finite time that a player can become play at the highest level. Very finite. It's very short. At the peak level, 20s, if you're even a top player in your 30s, you're lucky. 35, extremely lucky. Anything beyond that is extremely rare. But if we as coaches truly want to give our best to every player that we coach, it is important that we have as much knowledge as soon as possible and that we know how to apply this knowledge as soon as possible, because sometimes you can get information but you don't know what that information means because you're given just a blanket statement but nothing in depth. And the reason I say this is because in Evo Toka, the purpose is to create a community of coaches in which we can provide our players with the highest level of competition and the highest level of coaching. So when you get the highest level of coaching, you get the highest level players playing against each other, and then you get the highest level players playing against each other, and then they'll become as best as they can be, as good as they can be, to the best possible level. So if we had if my father was a part of this community when he had started coaching me, with coaches who had already been coaching 30, 40, 20 years into the game, 10, 15 years into the game. And he had the knowledge from all these coaches and how to apply the knowledge. That's the thing. It's not just knowing the knowledge, it's knowing how to apply it on a practical level. But had he had this, then I would have been a better player. So although I may have reached a high level, I didn't, so to speak, obtain reach my full potential. So I reached my full potential with what I had, but even with what I had, it could have been better. So I want to give the opportunity for coaches to help their players reach the highest possible level, because with Evo Toka, it is not just to create professional players. It's not just to create as many professional players as possible, but it's to create a system in which we can create the most amount of the highest level of players possible on a global level. And that is the importance of Evo Toka. That is why Evo Toka has been created. That is the mission of Evo Toka. That's the calling of Evo Toka. And many coaches believe that it is not possible for America to ever become a top soccer nation, or to at least develop enough players at the national level to where we can say that our players are at the highest level, or arguably at the highest level of playing soccer at the elite level relative to anyone's standards anywhere in the world. And there's a number of reasons coaches say this. There's the fact that there's no cohesive system within the U.S. Everybody's doing their own thing. There's the pay to play, where if you don't have money, you do not have the same access to resources and the ability to play and use soccer. So a lot of the times, the players that are really good, they don't have money, they can't play because they can't keep up with the payments. Some people say we don't have the best athletes. Some people say that coaches here only care about winning because that's what they're incentivized by. And that's part of the cohesive system too, because there may be some teams doing that, but on a large scale, they're definitely not doing that. So you got coaches that are incentivized to win because the parents control so much of the teams because of how much they pay. Then you got all these leagues. There's no cohesion within the leagues. Just everyone creates their own league. And then again, what doesn't help the U.S. too is that in not only do you not have the systems, but you have a country that is so large that even if you have the best system in Florida, the the western part of America is not going to know any part about it, because one, there's no cohesive system, and how are you even going to come in contact with that part of the nation? So there's a lot of things going against American youth soccer, but I am not the type of person to believe that, oh, we might as well just give all hope. Call me crazy, but I believe that, and this is not just me, but you know the saying that it's always impossible until it's done. Meaning, whenever you're trying to achieve something that's big, people will always say, "Oh, it's impossible. It can't be done. There's no way." And then when it's done, then they say, "Oh, yeah, I had a hunch. Yeah, I could tell at this point." But I believe that it can be done. I know that it can be done because if there's one thing that US doesn't have, it's a lack of resources. We have all the resources that we need. We can get all the education we want. The hard part is just having a system in place. And part of that is for some of the reasons that I'd mentioned above. And we that is why this community of Evo Toka is so important, because we need coaches. This is not something that can be done by one person or two people. This has to be done by a community of coaches who are committed to this cause, so that we can create players in the U.S. consistently that can play at the highest level, regardless of what country uh, we come up against. And this this requires the commitment of a number of youth coaches in American soccer who believe that this is possible. And not only do they believe this is possible, but they practice this. They practice this. They're committed. They're dedicated. Despite all the obstacles, they're staying the course. And you can stay your course within the system. I also believe that you can accomplish your goal within the system, but it's a lot harder to do it at the highest level. And that's why this system is in place, because this community can bring in coaches who have the same philosophy. And although there are some differences in terms of what is best, how we should go about things, that is why we meet. So that we discuss ideas, we share ideas, and then we test these ideas out. And there is there are, again, resources that we can utilize so that we can accomplish this goal. Like I said, US is not lacking in resources. It's just a matter of coming up with systems and then exchanging ideas. Now, I say that it's not that easy to exchange ideas and find out what's best, but it is possible. Whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, who knows, but it is possible. And again, that is what Evo Toka is about. So one thing about the U.S., there's coaches from several different parts of the world. So it's not just coaches that come from America, coaches from all over the world, different backgrounds, who are all committed to the game. So there's so much knowledge, and we all have an understanding of how the U.S. system works. Because sometimes when you bring coaches from other parts of the world who have never been in America, they may be a bit too idealistic, because in the US the system is completely different. But in our case, in US, we have people from all over the world who understand this system. So this is why Evo Toka was created, was formed. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. This is not about one person. This is not about two people. This is about a community of youth soccer coaches to get together and provide kids with the highest level playing environment possible to create the best level players, the highest level players. And I encourage you to take on the mission. Do not back down from the mission. Imagine contributing, being a part of a community that was able to overcome so many obstacles that seemed impossible to achieve. But because a small group, a small community started a movement, that movement grew, it gained momentum. Be Imagine being a part of that. And that's where you have to look at potential. And I know potential doesn't mean much to a lot of people until it's executed, but that's just like anything else. And that's the thing that I go back to, that thing. It's impossible until it's done. So I call youth coaches to this mission to help US get to this level. I know that we can, but it cannot be done without you. So I ask that you may continue to listen to this podcast, share any ideas and thoughts you have, and continue furthering your education as a coach.